You're listening to the Money Mike Syndicated Radio Podcast. How we doing? How we doing? We got WNBA fans speak. I got comments, reactions. I got it for you today. We're going to get into it. I'm going to talk about a major rule that something can go down, but let's get into it and let's see if we can get it right. You got the Indiana Fever and the Chicago Sky. That rivalry's just escalated up the ladder. Angel Reese, you got Tyler Marsh, you got Stephanie White coming in, and you've got the comments rolling in. And folks, I'll tell you this, I love the comments. Go ahead and hit the like one on this one because you're going to love this show today. We're going to get deep, deep, deep down into it, and we're going to bring this one home. But let's start with Adrian. Just coming back a little harsh. Be quiet. He's a legend. Barbie can love him. I'm a racist CC fan. Okay, I'm scared. Oh my God, you tell this. Teams are blank. Thea, the greatest young players. Da da da. Shaq did it on purpose. Da da da. Barbie, both hands. Da 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 da. Okay, so what are we talking about? We're talking about Angel Reese, right? And as you know, I kind of went in, and we're past that now with the Stephanie White hire. That's done. It's been counteracted. Chicago Sky brought in Tyler Marsh. So let's get into this. What you got there is you got a big battle coming on, and it's coming out of the NBA with the Chicago Sky. They're loaded up. So what you're trying to tell me, Angel Reese is not going to be a better player? That's not going to happen. Angel Reese is going to be twice as good at what you came down, right? So here's the deal. What's going on? You got Jay Lynn talking about Clark's numbers are going to go down. Yeah, I did predict the CaitlinClark numbers will go down, and here's the reason why. And I'm going to walk through some of the background that I'm giving his prediction. So I'm taking you behind the scenes when I share this information with you. Okay, so there's not an NBA champion or a point guard that's going to go in there and average the amount of points that CaitlinClark averaged last year. That you can't because what you got is a situation here, and Stephanie White knows this. You got to balance it out, right? You got to balance that offense out. You got to facilitate it through. So everybody's going to be touching the ball, and you're going to want to have continuity. You got to work both sides of the floor, right? So really, to win a WNBA championship, Clark's numbers are going to have to come down a little bit, but everyone else's numbers go up. Okay, and that creates championships, and that's the premise on that. So it is what it is. Okay, so was it a personal favor? Yes, we talked about that. It doesn't matter. White is a major upgrade, 100%. Okay, Franks, you nailed it, right? So the whole thing, and let me talk briefly about why I said was it a personal favor, it's tampering or whatever. The league is trying to get to 32 teams, right? So you got to understand that the NBA and the WNBA, it's basically the same brand, right? You separated the W, okay, no problem there. But you've got to have some continuity of rules of what you can and cannot do. And if you continue with your scaling in that direction of 32 teams, eventually you're going to have rules or what can and cannot be done. And but it's done, it's over. That situation, we're going to move on. Okay, go Sky. Thanks, Big Mike, once again for putting us up on game. We're fanatics. Keep it coming. Yeah, you got a big time situation going on here, folks. This one here, this rivalry just got counteracted and just escalated. And let me walk through what I do and how it works for me behind the scenes, right? So I'm gonna take you behind the scenes on this, and this is Jeff Swartz, right? So you got Jeff Swartz, XL Sports Manager. And here's where the agents come in because I want to take you to where I got to get you, okay, to Money Mike's world. Because again, it's my opinion, okay, but if it turns the truth, I'm giving you the facts before it happened. So I got a history of being in grassroots, men's development, getting people in the pros. What do you got to do to build a champion, right? So you got Jeff Swartz sitting there, bunch of NBA players. Here's somebody you may or may not know. This is Chris Rivers, okay? This Chris worked right-hand man when Derrick Rose, everybody's coming through with Sonny Vaccaro, okay? So he's with XL Sports. I'm going to take you a step further, right? Then you got Klutch, okay? Now, Klutch, this is why I look at Tyler Marsh and I'll look at Kelly, the president of the Indiana Fever. She knows this too. She knows what she's facing, okay? So when you look at this is Klutch Sports. Folks, I'll tell you, there's nobody knows how to do it better than Klutch Sports. They have the number one player in the country, the Oakland Soldiers, and my relationships with Calvin Andrews, right? So when Calvin Andrews, director of basketball operations, when you call it training and development, it's going to get done now. There's no doubt about it in Chicago. Now, so what do you got? You got Indiana, you got Boston, okay? So Boston's going to face a different player, a different Camilla Cardosa than she faced this last year because the training and development And the recommendation of Klutch, which the head coach is represented by Clutch Tyler Marsh, right? So everything's coming full circle, okay? So, and what you got in the WNBA, and just like anything else with pros, real players know real players, right? You got Kelsey Mitchell, CaitlinClark in Boston. Well, guess what? They know Kennedy Carter can ball, right? There ain't no doubt about it. There ain't no doubt about it, right? They know Camilla Condosa can bring it, and they know Angel Reese can bring it, right? So all of this is materializing as they're coming in. So now you got Klutch, you got Tyler Marsh going to develop this. Now you got Big Shaq and you got Dwyane Wade, right? All of these guys play for championships. If you look at Marsh's record, Tyler Marsh, what he has done, his history, his coaching resume, every team stop he's had, NBA G League, Toronto, all of those are NBA championships. So Kelly knows I got to counteract this and we got to step it up because this one's going to get hot. This man knows how to get it done. He went into Vegas, he won. So this is nothing new for him. He's just saying, hey, we going to work, work, work now. Here's the difference with the Chicago Sky last year and this year that's going to come from Tyler Marsh. And this one I'm going to break down for you. This one here is going to be the players are going to move out of just playing and they're going to move into roles. Every player on the Chicago Sky now has a role. And here's where you get in there and you get to Kelly, right? Kelly's the president. Kelly knows all of this because when you move to a role as a player, now it's defined. You're going to get this many minutes, 10 to 12 minutes. We expect this to come out of you. Okay, so this is going to be a different strategy. Now, here's the thing you also got to remember whenever you say 7 coaches were terminated or fired or removed, that doesn't mean 7 coaches. Each one of them probably had about 10 people associated with them. So they were fired too. So the firing really created about 100, maybe 100 individuals are out of the WNBA. I told you the NBA was walking in, right? So you got Stephanie White, you got Kelly, Stephanie White. What do they got? They got to counteract this, right? They have to counteract this to make it all come together, right? And that's what Stephanie White is brought in to do, okay? And she's got her hands full. It's going to be a lot of sleepless nights, right? Now, here's the bombshell of the day. I'm going to tell you right now, you got Alyssa Smith, right? So let's get into this. And here's the trade of the day I'm going to give you before I get back to the comments because we're going to rock and roll. Now, Alyssa Smith, here's the deal. Make the trade to Chicago. Make the trade to Chicago. If you get Alyssa Smith right in Chicago, she fits Chicago and what Tyler Marsh is trying to do. Okay, that's Money Mike giving you behind the scenes. Indiana Fever, Kelly, you can call on over there to the Chicago Sky. You can send Alyssa Smith to the Chicago Sky. Here's the difference. They know how Klutch knows how to develop Alyssa Smith. They know how to do that, and that's what they do. Let's get back to it. I wanted to run that through you. Hey, no problem. Appreciate the support. We're here for that. Angel's ambidextrous already. Start shooting with the left hand because of her right arm is double jointed. Kim Mulkey told her to use. See, here they're nailing it, right? Okay, so I'm with you on that. You get 100% like there because, see, here's the thing. I tell you, when you work with high-profile coaches, right? So you got to know this. This somebody, Brooks dialed in, right? She's talking about Angel Reese, ambidextrous, right arm double jointed. Mokel told her use it. LSU fans, I love you. She got to get used to predominantly using the right, but she'll still use her left, I'm sure. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Now, here's grassroots development, pro basketball development, right? So I believe Angel Reese could play the 2 spot, the 3 spot, and the 4 spot. Be a stretch 4. I saw her jumper. It's money. I saw the way Angel Reese handles the ball. It's money. Just no coach has entered into that arena and placed her in that position. When Angel Reese, now you got Klutch, okay? You got Shaq, you got D. Wade, and you got Tyler Marsh, right? So, and what else does that tell me? That tells me Becky Hammond might be in play, right? Becky Hammond might be in play because in the NFL, it's a tear-down rebuild, right? We won. Mark Davis, okay, people are leaving. Okay, Becky, where do you want to go, right? So you got spots open. Where's Becky going to go to win another championship? But it's going to be hard. Okay, he not better prone to Jezebel's like Spoon. Okay, that's going a little different. Yeah, and let's go a different route with that, right? So Tyler Ross is a male coach, right? So now there's a different way, and I've coached the women. I'm not talking about middle school. I'm talking about people who that can go to the league, right? So when you coach the women, they got to approach Tyler different, right? But you're gonna have an intermediary because now it's not going to just come down to who's the coach. It's going to come down to who the assistants are, right? So how big a staff. And if you're bringing NBA staff on in, that's going to change, right? So It's going to have a different tolerance level, what the expectation, because now you're not just going out there playing and following a game plan. See, there's one thing to coach and say, follow the game plan. The next step that championship coaches do, they define you down to your role. Okay, this is the game plan, but this is your role in the game plan, right? Okay, Denise, thank you so much. Just subscribe. Hey, always tune in. My. I got the Chicago Sky. I got no problem supporting both because I love it. And for the Indiana Fever fans, here's where I'm going to go with you on this one. As far as when people are talking about the Indiana Fever fans and all their racism and all that, skip all that, Indiana. Keep doing what you're doing, right? You keep doing what you're doing, and let me tell you why. Because that fan base that you have is an advantage. I'm a big 49er fan, and what we do in the NFL, we take over stadiums. If we play the Indianapolis Colts, you'll see red. We play the Bears, we're taking your stadium, right? So go take as many as you can because you're sold out. But here's what I'm going to tell you, the flip side. Don't be fooled by the Chicago Sky. They just haven't got active yet. If they start winning, you're going to see the Chicago Sky, okay, get active. And trust me, folks, if you want to see something in how Chicago and Illinois goes at or Indiana goes at, go out there and watch a Big Ten and watch Indiana play Illinois and listen to the fan bases, right? It's not, you're not going to want to have your phone on what people say to each other. But that's what fans do. And if you can't beat it when they get in there, that's the rivalry. It's going to happen. This is the kind of coach I hope for the Fever. Stephanie, be ready is all I can say. That's what I'm talking about. I mean, hey, you got something that's fiery in Chicago, okay? And you got Klutch. And I'm telling you, I walked you through that lineup. That's where I go. And those gentlemen I've worked with, right? So these are guys that I've worked with, been in the business, been around the business, okay? And the difference, folks, really between an NBA coach and a WNBA coach. Let me clarify this, right? Or not necessarily coach, because the real question I have, if you're coaching a WNBA team, can you coach in the NBA? That's all money, Mike. If you can't, then now we're kind of doing the recycling business, right? And the recycling business really doesn't work. You got to get people with NBA experience. Why? Because when you play an NBA game, there is more detail, right? Your role gets defined, your shooting spots are defined, every touch you get, every step you take, the court is divided into four corners, and this is what your role is. If you can't produce in that role, then guess what? We're going to release you or send you back down to the G League, right? Now, of course, you don't have like in the NBA, like here, where CaitlinClark came in as a rookie, right? Angel Reese came in 2020. I mean, who does 2020, right? Nobody really does 2020 like Angel Reese does 2020. Now, if you add all the other aspects of training that she's going to get, okay, with Shaq, D Wade, Klutch Sports, that's going to move her to Olympic team talent, right? And Angel Reese wants that, right? Because she's so popular off the court, but she wants to be popular back on the court. That's the deal right there, folks. Okay, so you got the right coach. Okay, congratulations again. Yep, they're moving on up. Denise Bay, I see him straightening out Reese, Carter, and Cadeau for more time. He's going to put them in the roles. He's going to put them in the roles. If they do their roles, and you can't throw the ball in the trap spots, right? So let's talk coaching, right? Because I didn't like Chicago Sky last year, just throwing the ball into the paint and you're like playing. It was almost like grammar school, right? You got whoever's the tallest kid, just throw it up high and they can catch it, right? Because they're taller. That's not basketball, folks. There's some execution, X's and O, movements, continuity. You got to get in there. You got to know how to run the two-man game, right? There's a lot of detail that goes in it. Now, the difference between the men and the women, when the men come to the grassroots and they come in, they're already at that stage, right? And if a coach has to tell them things that they have to tell the WNBA players, that's challenging, right? Because they should know that. But the women really don't know that. But that's this year where it's getting popular. This thing, you think 24 more are coming? Let me tell you, and if you can't stand CaitlinClark fans, I don't know how you're gonna deal with Paige Bucher's fans, right? Because they're gonna be off the chart, right? And so you got Juju's gonna come in. I love LA, right? And where is Steve Ballmer? Okay, because you got a brand new arena and Cathy Engelbert. Why doesn't Steve Ballmer have a franchise, right? Because Ballmer ain't going to be over there where the LA Lakers and LA Spark. So, I mean, there's another player in the game. And Ballmer, I told you that deal with Sacramento going over there. The majority owner or owner of Sacramento Kings invested in Portland's franchise, right? Good move. But that means the ownership group's got to take Sacramento. And, Steve Ballmer, I don't know why we're not up there because that's good stuff, right? Was he the former pair of the Bricklayers Union? Wow, that was a good one, folks. I give you credit on that one. people don't understand. Coaches do not follow the CBA, and they can pull out of their contract at any. It's rules. In the rules, there was no tampering. Okay, so we're not going to spend a lot of time on that. But as you grow to 32 teams, you got to have something. You can't. The NBA coaches can't decide. Hey, you know what? I think the Memphis Grizzlies are better. Okay, than what Steve Kerr has at the Warriors, right? So Steve Kerr says, "Well, I want to go take the Grizzlies because I like John Morant." You can't do that, folks. You just can't. You can't. I mean, you get to pick your coach. Coach gets a contract. You fire them, okay, they get paid, right? So at the end of the day, I mean, and don't get started on fired coaches because the NFL is paying over $1 billion in salary, right? So let's get it there. Okay, we understand he just doesn't, right? So you know what? Yeah, yeah, I get it because I look at the WNBA as the NBA, right? And when I see things that happen, and you're correct, because here's what I look. And I was looking it up. Maybe somebody is because the WNBA, because they just kind of did it. No one ever really cared about it. No one said anything about it. It was never brought up. And here on the Money Mike Syndicated Radio podcast, we're powered up by Fanatics. One thing we'll tell you is we're always going to look for the betterment, the integrity, and how it could be more successful, right? Because the game is growing, it's scaling super fast, and nobody ever thought, well, is that right? Can you just get out of a coaching contract? Now, if they want to do that, then that is going to be tricky because whoever has the most money, because like I said, you get Steve Ballmer and he wants to pay a coach $20 million. What are you going to do about it, right? Because you're capping the game and you're capping the game and the capping the game is not good because now you want to put the coaches of their contract, but the coaches who coach this game professionally are worth way more money than $500 million, right? What Becky Hammond's getting like is dropping a bucket. Becky Hammond's an easy $5 million a year coach, right? And she can go coach any one of these teams, and all these teams are going to lose to Becky Hammond. Why? Because she has NBA experience, so her game plan is far superior than the teams you play. Do your research, boss. It's not tampering. Okay, I got you. She was brought out of her contract. Oh, she was bought out. Oh. Okay, that's a bombshell. Okay, she was bought out of her contract in Connecticut, so therefore she signed with the Fever. Okay, there's the compensation, right? Okay, that's what I was looking for because I felt, hey, they should be compensated. So that's a beautiful one right there. NBA coach Angel Reese will be a bench warmer. That's not going to happen, right? I get your point in grassroots when it started, but here's the other flip side to that, and I want to share this. These players have been playing against each other since what, sixth, seventh grade. Okay, they've been moving up. These players, CaitlinClark, does all these players she's playing against. She already knows them, right? They've been playing, and somewhere along the line, okay, because now the women's game is starting to get into Reebok. You're starting to get Adidas. You're starting to get Nike. You're starting to get Puma. You're going to get New Balance. You got all the shoes, right? So all the shoe companies are coming in. They have to create events, right? Because you got to rank these players, evaluate them. Because one player could be great in one city, but when they go to the big city and get in the camp, they don't perform as well, right? People have never been in that environment. So, and the other thing is the difference now, but you're starting to see it more, is in women's basketball when the WNBA started, the women never really played pickup games, right? Men been playing pickup games forever. So their knowledge of what to do in certain situations, they just have more hours of practice, right? But with Angel Reese talent level, you gotta understand Kim Mulkey doesn't really recruit scrubs, right? So when you get somebody like that and you look at Nalissa Smith, right? Kim Mulkey doesn't recruit scrubs. So that you got to look at it differently. Because if you get to know Kim Mulkey and the way she trains her players, the horse trainers, you get to know Don. How does Don train the players, right? You get up there in North Carolina State, two great guards. How does he let them play, right? Those are situations, and those translate to the WNBA easily. Newt's coach already stated team would be centered around the Trent Childers, Reese, and Cardoza. They can get bigger than that with Nalissa Smith. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to tell you now, and I'll tell you 10 times. The Fever, I tell you what, they will despite or bite their hand to not let potentially. Now I don't know. One thing I do here, and folks, we appreciate your comments because the league office gets them. They're tuned in. Everything gets said. Everything gets discussed. Right? You're going to get a transcript. This is what you're saying. So go ahead and like and leave your comments. Right? I don't think that it's going to be that. I think that you can get in the list of Smith over there. That's going to push Angel Reese out to the three, and Angel Reese can dominate at the three. That'd get interesting, right? Okay, they're trying to convince themselves. Yeah, you know what? You got to you got to believe before it happens. Cardoso and Reese will be a force, 100%, no doubt about it. Okay, I mean you're not going to stop that, right? Okay, give AR 5 years, she still can't improve. A lot of people say that, and when you get in there, and folks, a lot of times you got to look at the player and you got to look at its scouting, right? And this is where I go back to my 30-second rule. I look at a player for 30 seconds. I can see, can I fit them in? Do they have any tendency? And when you say tendency and you talk about coaching, you talk about developing and what they do. Well, when I look at that 30 seconds, I'm gonna look at the ball handling. I really pay major attention to the footwork, okay, of what they can do. I look at defensive reads. Do they guard one player, no player, guard all five players, right? Because Caitlin can guard all five, right? So that's what makes Caitlin different, right? Because she's reading your offense. She's playing read and react D. So I'm going to go wherever I can make the steal, the rebound, or the block, right? You know how hard it is to get somebody to do that? Because most players are just checking out. They take plays off. I can tell you which players, I could give you a tape of the players that took a play off on offense or defense and tell you when they didn't execute. It's got to go down to the 94 feet of the court. And every minute, every second, you have to execute. And that's really the way it's done. Now you got Tyler. That's what he done. You got Stephanie White. She's going to press the fever. Okay. You see, sometimes you want something and you want it to be, we want Stephanie White, but you got to understand Stephanie White's got some bite. All right. And some people are going to get bit and they're going to get shot. Right. So she'll improve. I'm not worried about that. Keep trying to convince yourself her floor levels breaking rate. She's just getting started. Yeah, it ain't even, you haven't seen her best yet. There's a statement Blaze playing hatred, just like however it's not based on Angel and the Chicago Sky are coming, and they like this, only make it a victory. Yeah, they're coming for you, Fever. So don't back down. This is the deal with the Indiana Fever fans and all this, and you got Jockel Jones talking about Fever fans and how you're going to be. I'll skip that. Get your New York fans to be what you need, right? Because any stadium you go in, the home team has a right to take it over. You can get so loud you can't even hear the other fans, right? And the social media stuff, let's be honest, where's it coming from? I mean, how are you going to track? There's like a trillion per people probably sending something out every second, right? So how are we going to stop that? We can't, right? So you got to just tune it out. Either you're going to get out of social media or have somebody else manage it for you. And that's where I always get back to NBA, WNBA. NBA players are managed, right? You can't just let them run loose. And for the WNBA players, just getting under managed, getting under training. I mean, you get public relations involved. You make yourself a star, right? Links one WNBA is a joke. Nothing makes sense by those standards. It's normal. WA sense. Yeah, well, you know what? That's a point. And it's a growing league, right? Because it's never been under the spotlight, right? You get under the, I gotta tell you, Stephanie White was been handling things up there in the Connecticut. You're in the sports section, right? Now you're gonna be in the cover Time magazine. You're gonna be in the Wall Street Journal because everybody's connecting what you do to their valuations, right? So does Stephanie White have a big role to play in Chicago? Yeah, because that's how they're going to build a valuation of what the team's worth, right? And the team's got to bring in revenue, right? So what does Kelly do? Okay, she goes out and gets Amy, and you got somebody here that's the CEO. Okay, that's chief operations, right? So you got to have somebody managing things as it's going on because now when you bring in the revenue, now we can project. Okay, from the Indiana Fever having an all-star game, here's the projected revenue. And this is where I tell you the Indiana Fever are going to go down as the most revenue ever by an NBA franchise in the history of the WNBA. And when you speak to the economics, what are you going to do, right? So, I mean, it is what it is, but no one is talking about Tim. Well, you know what? That's what I do. I bring up subject that nobody else does. It's not a conspiracy. I'm just telling you, this is something you got to be knowing. Okay, brought CC22 Super Bowl. I mean, Clark. Let me tell you, I'm a Clark fan, right? And I'm a fan of basketball, right? But when you come to the point guard and what Caitlin does, how she reads, reacts, I mean, how she entertains the crowd. You know what? I'm for that, right? So, and then until the WNBA players, see, here's what gets me with the WNBA players, and this is what I'm talking about: the Chicago Sky Angel Reese. If y'all can stop her, why are you going to the fans? That to me right there is saying, look, we can't stop CaitlinClark, so we gonna now go pick on her fans, right? I mean, come on, right? Let's be honest. Okay, so you can't beat me, so now you want to pick on the coach or you're gonna pick on the referee, right? Because whenever the Indiana Fever win, this is what I notice, and this is where I'm saying, man, why does this keep going on and on and on? So every time they win a ball game, it's either the coaches didn't do right on the other team, the referees didn't call the game right. How about you just say you lost the game, right? I mean, because that's WNBA basketball. I mean, in the NBA, if you win, you win. You lose, you lose. You can't come up later and say, well, somebody's starting to, blitz me up in the second half of the season, right? Ignorance is bliss, right? Okay, so I got it. You know what? And on the Money Mike side, hey, let me tell you, I put it out there, I stick behind it, and I enjoy your comments, and I do read them, right? If this were unequivocally tampering, the league would have already acted by stopping the moves and leveling punishment as a show of control, zero tolerance for breaking the rules, especially regarding it, right? But here's the deal: the WNBA, nobody makes any money. First of all, okay, this is the Money Mike Syndicated Radio podcast. We're powered up by Fanatics. Nobody makes money in the NBA, right? So it's not like the NBA players making $20 million. You can start handing down $50,000, $100,000 fines. What are you going to fine them? $500, right? So that's an embarrassment to the league, right? Because you're really firing them a percentage of the salary, but because the salary's so low, you can't do it, right? So I mean, let's be honest. It's my whole purpose there. If you're growing in 32 teams, right? I mean, and the way somebody's saying she got bought out, right? That's the first one to come in there and they're putting facts. Okay, I can live with that. Mutual consent between the Suns and White, right? Now I get that because at the end of the day, you got to look at the move. Okay, Stephanie White, she leaves. Okay, she finds a home. She's happy. Connecticut's got to find a coach, right? So they got to just move on to whatever's there. But to have it say consent, okay, it worked out. Personal favor, as Stephanie White had said, hey, I got family emergency problems, this is that. And where it came was she said, hey, this is damaging to my career, right? So we took it face value. She made the move. It's done. It's done. So Gary Wright, I got you, man. And I agree, sir. They're saying this is very fishy, especially when it's supposed to have family issues, separate itself from the B-ball. That's what I thought too. She pops up doing an exit interview with the Sun, and you can see it embellishing and trying to force her to cry, right? So we all saw the same thing, and maybe others saw it differently, but that's what happened. We'll keep it going. This issue could have been too far from her children. Indy solves that without having to leave basketball. That makes sense. I got you. Okay, ABC Scotland, I got you. Wow, what a theory. Rumor gets spread, right? No, that's professional. You can't. The NFL knocks you out the park for this, right? Because you get to fooling around with a player, even when players go over there and want to play for Bill Belichick, right? But you can't go over there and do that. You can't really get involved. And if you do, then it's a major penalty. And it's just the fact. Everyone has to really understand the way the WNBA used to be. Okay. I mean, that's really something special. It's like New York Yankee Stadium, right? In the old stadium, people went back and got their seats, right? Because they've been their season tickets so long. So it's one of those things now where the NBA, where they used to be and where they are now, you're in two different spots, right? You're going into that next round that everybody wanted. Okay, and the only difference between Caitlin and everybody else, and you're only going to be able to run that cycle with Caitlin so many times, right? So let's look at after you tour the league and Caitlin's played in arenas 4 or 5 times, people have seen that. So you're gonna have other players gonna have to step up. That's where the Chicago Sky come in. They have to be such a superstar organization, right? Because they're tied to something now. And when you're in the WNBA, it's different. You want to talk about a birth of a economy. You're talking about birth of women empowerment. It's almost like you're talking about a birth of a nation because it's going to change schools. It's going to change everything you do because there's so many young men and young women who are in elementary are tied to the WNBA and they're enjoying the game. So it's a big responsibility for everybody at this stage. Okay. So, Keith, what's going on? I got confused how she got out of her contract without the Fever giving up anything to get her as a coach. Yeah, I mean, it just worked out. It's one of those things you don't see, but when you think about it, and then he says the W is not run like the men's league. I accept that. I looked up tampering on the NBA. It's very explicit, spelled out, clear. Look it up on the WNBA. It's nothing there, right? So this was something that nobody was thinking about that we happened to talk about it. Okay, here's the way I see it: if a coach has to leave due to a family obligation, that's okay. If a job is closer to home, yeah. I mean, you can't fault somebody for going back to coach in their home city, right? So that's got to work. What an utter nonsense. Should anyone be locked into a position if they feel untenable to rate the job they want to do? Right? We know the conditions of job interference. Yeah, coaching decisions. Yeah, they had a hard time. We do not want to choose where we go in the condition we work. She can have any reason she wants to, and it's not any of our business. That's not how pro sports works, right? James, you're 100% work, but that's not how pro sports work, right? You sign a contract to coach a team, and the WNBA is going to get there. The NBA is already there, right? Steve Kerr gets an extension, right? They can go in there and decide to part ways, right? But if they decide they don't want to part ways, you have to be able to do an exchange or really compensation, right? But you can't just go take a coach under contract and make it free will that anybody can bring in any coach, right? Because at the end of the day, if you're able to do that, then heck, whoever's leading on the board at that particular time can take the coach that's at the bottom and start saying, hey, bring that coach over there. Because this does happen, right? They cut guys and they fire guys at the end of the year. And these guys go over and help the NFL playoff teams, right? Because they're going to be out of contract. So they can go get hired and help go play against the playoff team. But you can't just start walking while the season's going, right? Because, I mean, this one here, and it's a spotlight team, right? So let's get past that. The Indiana Fever and the Chicago Sky are spotlight teams, right? So when you got spotlight teams, things work differently than other places. That's the key. Find the rule or policy. Well, I don't know. Cathy Engelbert hasn't pulled in. Knowing the real time of hires and fires, no public time. This is a whole video to ask one question. Yeah, it is. It is because every step the NBA take is a growth step, right? And now, you got the officials, right? Nobody like that, right? You got a situation where the officials didn't work. Then you got a situation where Nescu goes 1 of 19. They come out and tell a hand was not broken, or not broken, but a hand was hurt or not feeling well. So at the end of the day, and you look at it collectively, I'm sitting there asking myself, well, if your hand's hurt, how do you shoot it 19 times, right? Because somebody had to bring that to your attention. Like, do you know how many shots she's taken, how many she's made? Because when you cover this, you get a stat sheet at the end of the first, end of the second, end of the third. I mean, you can get it anytime you want it, really, and they print it out and give it to you. But I mean, you got to look at that and say, what are we really doing? The WNBA is growing, and they're growing quickly. Okay, 1640. I didn't agree. Yeah, I looked at that, and you know what? I got to respect your opinion. There's no doubt about it. I got to respect your opinion, and a game amongst games, right? So I got you, man. I respect what you said. I looked at it, and it's we can expand on it. There's no doubt about it. We don't know the details of the separation mutually agreed upon it. The son make its accusation, and I like to do this way it went down. Of course, yes. That's done. It's over. We can't do anything. Basement conspiracy, da 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 lives here. Yeah, I don't get into the politics. I'll save that for somebody else. Okay, let's go. False. He only stopped by to visit Sleepy Joe. That's a good one. Some of them are good too. Okay. Thanks for the upload. Indiana is 4.5 travels by the car, right? To the children, a 1 hour flight. Connecticut is apparently a nightmare. 1.5 days there, back, no direct flights. Scott Agnes reports, right? I think Southwest allowed to discipline. Okay, ATDC, dirty play, ta ta ta. I don't think Southwest type of toxic person reminds me allegations against. I'm not on the acronyms. My apologies there. I heard SW. Stephanie White. Okay. I got you this. Then went to college for more money, guaranteed a 5-year time contract at the time of the WNBA offered 1-year guarantee. Whatever the facts, okay, I don't think the Connecticut Sun will formally complain. Well, that they haven't, right? So throughout all of that, they haven't. And what are you going to do? I mean, it's moved on, and now we move on. Prior to the Sun, Stephanie White did not have a history of enabling dirty plays, so I don't think it's a plausible, credible. I got you. That the Sun management forbidding her from disciplining the dirty players on the team. Here we go. Both Thomas and Mustard. I'm not sure Mustard starters. Okay, if White benched them, Sun would likely lose games. She may have demanded a raise from her contract long before the season and agreed to stay till the playoffs. That could be true. I mean, it's easy to cut bait. You just walk out of the job. We're done. We agree to part ways, then you go ahead and take another job. No, nobody's doing that. I mean, because you got to fire Chrissy Sides to make all this happen, right? None of this happened until Chrissy Sides got fired. 3 days later, she got a job. Okay, if it's in butts and candy nuts, man, talking to me, I like that. If it's in butts were candy nuts, you know what? We'd all have a Merry Christmas. I like it. I like it. I just want to overlook White's 5 years of failed coaching at Vanderbilt. I looked at that. People don't ignore that. I'm saying you get 5 years in a job. That one there tells a lot. I mean, you got to at least go 500, right? Or it tells me how's your recruiting going, right? I agree. I'm decided to be optimistic because failure happened. The roster recruiting could have been done primarily. Oh well, we'll see. Yeah, the jury's out, guys. You're gonna see it. I'm more pissed because it doesn't seem like the Fever didn't do a proper coaching search. Now that's a different spin on it, right? And you say you got Jamar Moore, that's a different spin on it. Yeah, doing it. Seems like they just decided on White. Yeah, it was quick. It was. I don't know if they were feeling there was going to be a threat from somebody else White going to. So Indiana Fever fans, I don't know. I don't have an answer for that one, right? Well, I'm not entirely for a divergent reason that from where I sit, I support my take. That's fine. And here's the deal. You know what? Like I said, we retired from AT&T. We're from corporate America. We understand that everybody has an opinion. We ask that you just You can say it. If I don't understand it, I'll ask you to expand on it because everyone's got to respect your opinion. However you feel, this is not a dictator type environment. I'm a democracy of understanding. Now I'll go ahead and put my spin on it in the end. Now it doesn't necessarily mean you agree with that, right? But that's part of it, right? So no one cares about college. Knows that college wins are based on 4 or 5 star talent. These teams with the most win 90% of the time. Does Vanderbilt? No. Well, it just depends on where you are. Here's the deal with that, right? So you make a comment like nobody at Vanderbilt, right? But here's the deal. You send John Calipari to Vanderbilt, Vanderbilt's going to win some games, right? I mean, let's just be honest. I mean, I had one opportunity, late legendary Hall of Famer Pat Summitt, watch a game with her recruiting Vicky Baugh at a Sacramento high school. I mean, Pat Summitt can go anywhere and win games, right? Because the way she coached was different, right? She knew what she was doing. Agreed. And for me, the opportunity to learn and grow as a coach is where I sit on this. Although I also put her college coaching resume out there, but for a different reason, which I won't relish. Okay, that's part of it. Okay, Suns are losing Bonner and Thomas. Okay, possibly Carrington and Mabry going into rebuilding. No point in holding on to White. Okay, that's value. That's value. So they can have her for a year on a team that takes 7 years, several years to rebuild. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to get located close to a major city like Boston or Kansas City. Folks, Kansas City's in play, right? The NFL wants in. Mark Davis opened up that. Here's my profits. Is what we're doing. NFL's great partner, right? Because you can cross sell until you just get tired, right? And the ladies get a lot of revenue that can go directly to them. But possible out clauses for White, a lot of unknowable forms. Yeah, you got it. That's as smart as you can put it. If we talk WNBA weeds, let's talk about the rule that you must be a woman to be eligible to be in the WNBA. Yeah, you can. But you know what? My deal is I focus on what I can't control. Now, if you're talking about something specific, I can't control that, right? Okay, Griner. Okay, hot potato. Anyone going to need Trump? Yeah, we keep going. Okay, David Morton, CaitlinClark, NBA TNT lawsuit, Gina, clickbait. Okay, I like that, David Morton. Let me tell you the deal with this one, right? Because we're going down here and we got WNBA comments, speaks, reactions. I'm just giving you what the fans are saying, and I'm reading it back, and some things I got to clarify, right? So you got CaitlinClark. Every time I kind of send some out, I put CaitlinClark because CaitlinClark's running the face of the WNBA right now. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care how you look at it because when you translate to corporate America and what corporate America wants to do, and as they're digging into Wall Street, digging into the valuations of this game and what are the team's valuation and also who has real estate and who doesn't, right? So Caitlin's got to lead this entire march, right? Doesn't it, because you're talking about really how much revenue or how high you can push Caitlin Clark's salary. And then you get to where's the secondary salary? Those are the players who have time in the league, who have been playing for years, okay? And then they're going to have exception salaries, right? So exception is something Galen can fall over. With this player, what do they do and what is the result? Okay, because you got an opposite. You got eventually they're going to meet heads. You got unrivaled. So when you look at it, you got an NBA TNT lawsuit, right? So when you got unrivaled being represented by TNT, you got the NBA has said, look, we're giving you a portion of our TV contract to the WNBA with escalators, okay? If the league is having success, the value of the TV contract goes up, okay? So there's revenue escalators in there that are going to be beneficial for the WNBA players, right? So, but nevertheless, the NBA or TNT are in a lawsuit because they had a match agreement. Whatever you offer, you get. Amazon gave a huge offer. TNT said we match it. The WNBA chose to separate beyond their agreement they had over 40 years to go in a where of technology. What is Adam Silver wants to take the game into AI, right? So you got Unrivaled and you got Nalissa Smith, and I'm going back to that one. Now Nalissa Smith needs to go to Chicago Sky. Now it's the point of what does Kelly want back? Because there's no sense in talking about it when I know what can get done with Nalissa Smith, and that would give them and this would work. I'm going to tell you, if you want to look at what can work with Nalissa Smith, okay, you're going to have Camila Cardoso, right? You got that. Okay, you got Nalissa Smith at the 4, and you got Angel Reese at the 3. You add 2 guards on that. That's going to be a tough team to beat. That's a tough team to beat, no doubt. Clark will play in a rival. There's a reason 2 o'clock fever teammates, Iowa, who loved but mostly a bench warmer, joined Unrivaled last few days because Clark is playing it. I too like Lexi. Yeah, I mean they're playing for money, folks. This is pretty extensive. So bear with me. Lexi, but nowhere as good as Kelsey Mitchell. And Lexi was on the bench at the beginning of the season. Yeah, that one hurt him too. Mitchell is unrivaled quality, but Martin Hull are not getting him started. Hull and Martin are there because Clark is playing ball. Okay, so putting together the premise. Here's what they're saying with this one here. They're saying unrivaled. They're trying to build an environment for Caitlin to come over and play in, right? Boston could have been given the 30 spot after Hall, but reserved for Clark. As soon as the league went to 36 players, Boston was put in, right? So in this league here, all the commentators here have no ambition and are not competitive, right? So we got commentators are not ambitious, not competitive. Okay. These commentators are always looking for a holiday vacation or a break, but Clark wants to play basketball and win, win, win. That's right. And now our troops have joined the league. She will play. Here, her jersey will sell out immediately, and unrivaled viewership with Clark will put pressure on the WNBA to pay more players. They're going to put the ads going. Now, I don't necessarily say it's going to happen that way, but what I do say is they're going to put a lot of pressure. I don't know joining two leagues and selling CaitlinClark jerseys. See that's diluting the product, right? And this is where you get into why don't CaitlinClark go play? Well, Nike has a contract with CaitlinClark. That's right there, number one. So when you got the type of contract, okay, that CaitlinClark has, you just can't go play. Like who's stepping in on rival? Let's say Adidas steps in there, right? I think it will be Adidas. But let's see who steps in, and then that's a rival league. So you can't really go play in a rivaled league, even though they want to call it unrivaled. It's not unrivaled. They're rivaling against other shoe companies. Okay, White will be out in 2 years. She's been able to establish shelf right. Yeah, that's true. This one here, I'm gonna leave it up. I'm gonna leave it up because Stephanie White's got a heck of a job, and she's gonna have a lot of sleepless nights over there. It's gonna be a lot of sleepless nights. I just got to tell you because you're going up against somebody who again has the NBA experience. Now, what does White coaching staff look like? I mean, that's what you gotta really look at that. That's why I tell you when you've got over 7 coaches changing, that means 7 staffs. You've lost over 100 people, okay, maybe more that it takes to run the team, right? Because everybody's gonna bring in their own people. Reeve thought she was running the WNBA too. That's a major part of the league's problem. Too many women thinking they run the league unchallenged. Well, they do run the league. First of all, this to all the women out there. You run the league, it's your league. And you know what, for the guys, I can only say it's really sometimes it get difficult because with men, we don't have any patience, right? Our patience level is just, I have a good friend. We go back and forth on this all the time, right? Because she's like, no, the league's this, and I'm like, no, back. So it goes back and forth. But the whole deal is nobody likes change, right? Nobody wants change. Everything was comfortable the way it was. Everybody did a good job. Everybody did the job they wanted. Reeve did what she wanted. You could pick your Olympic team. Nobody said anything. I mean, you could play games on TV, the one that you wanted to play. So what happened? Okay, CaitlinClark comes in the league and brings all this attraction, right? And upsets the apple cart, right? The whole apple cart, right? Because they build the top 6 teams to be on national TV. They got their TV schedule. These are all the games. And you get the media and everybody comes in and says, scrap that, right? We're not going to do that. We're going to CaitlinClark's game. That's the only games we want. The rest of those games, you guys figure out which ones you want to show. Then that's a slap in the face, right? So, but in corporate America, and I talk a little bit about debt financing. When you go up there and you got Reese, when you go to the secondary market, that's getting money from people whose sole purpose is to make money. They're not interested in what you do, how you do it. They're just interested in what you're going to do and pay me. Yeah, and this is Smith time to go. It is. I say Chicago Sky. I say 100 times. I'll tell you this: if the Chicago Sky, okay, Klutch Sports, whoever her representative, they get her to the Chicago side, you're going to see a completely different player, right? You're going to see a completely different Alyssa Smith. Thanks for your explanation regarding the financial system. Yeah, Dream. I appreciate your comment. You have a lot of knowledge in there. Hey, you know what? I love that. And thanks for sharing. I always can tell it because at the end of the day, we do it for the fans. That's what it's for. And I'll bring out stuff that other people you may talk or listen to may not bring it up, but it's going to be from the state of the business model of the NBA, right? And it goes down to who's training and development, who's the president, who's the general manager, and what like relationships are. Because there's a lot more when you get the players on the floor. That's the easy part. It's what goes on inside of the building. And right now, the Indiana Fever have done a mindset shift, championship mindset in their building. You look at the Chicago Sky, they've done a mindset championship in their building. So both buildings are buzzing. They got new ideals, new thoughts, new plans, new training regimen, new supplements. They got a lot of stuff that they got to implement to get them to where they need to be. And Tyler March is all about doing the development, right? So that's for Stephanie White. Now that's a little different because Stephanie White hasn't really been a developer, right? So you got to look at that and say, well, now you have to be okay to take these players because really you got to understand the team she coached in Connecticut. She didn't have to develop anybody; they had already played in the league and they were there. The Indiana Fever are just babies. Okay, so now her whole mentality of what she did last year, she got to throw all that out of the window. She has no experience. Now you're teaching the young babies how to execute. That's a big task, right? And if she can get it done, if that's why they hired. She can call timeouts. Yeah, yeah, that's true. I'm glad to see sides go. I truly hope all the our fans are happy now. No more excuses for CaitlinClark. And you know what? Here's the deal, right? I'm truly happy. I hope all those our fans are happy. Here's the deal. Caitlin is a different type of player, so she don't need no help, right? The fans are like, yeah, we're cheering for Caitlin. Caitlin gonna play regardless, right? If you put the game in there and you said, okay, let's go play a pickup game, Caden's going to dust them off at the pickup game worse than you see it on the WNBA. You got to be thankful for the controlledness of what they control in the WNBA because Caden will go in a pickup game, drop 40 on them, right? What are you going to do about it? You can't do anything about it. You go drink a Gatorade, sit over there, and like they said about Larry Bird, yeah, he's white, but I mean, he's gonna spank you, right? And you guys think you've seen something about Caitlin this first year. Wait till she gets comfortable, she gets rested, she gets strengthening conditioning. They get her in there cross training. They get her in plyometrics. Man, you're gonna see a lightning bolt hit this court. You ain't gonna know what to do with it, right? Because nobody does. Sides hurt the Fever team. CC broke 63 records, trying to sabotage. Yeah, Chrissy Sides is on a different plane, man. Chrissy Sides, a rookie coach. I mean, got a great opportunity, right? Just was still caught up in this is how you read it out of the book. And you can't read this stuff out of the book, okay? That's the difference. You gotta know how to get your hands dirty, boots on the ground. So you should be able to take the whole organization from A to Z. That's really what a coach is supposed to do. And I tell you, the biggest difference when I say NBA, if you coach in the WNBA and you're a head coach, you should be able to walk right into an NBA job and do it as if nobody was there. It should be complete synergy because the detail. Now, here's the difference: the detail that you have in preparation for before a game in the NBA is a whole lot different than the WNBA. Okay, they got a whole lot more material, access cameras, a whole lot more things you got to do. So you're going in a different path here. Iowa fans, Indianapolis is an Indiana pumpkin. I like that, right? Sides was a terrible coach, excuse for Clark, for what? First team All WA, Rookie of the Year, 63 records. Cry harder so you get your low testosterone. Okay, I get your point. Okay, then we got a little salt. Okay, Bartell, I got you through a little salt on it. Okay, I got you. Always appreciate your thoughts. Who out of four power women do you think will primarily be responsible for strengthening the roster? I guess all four will have input. That's a great question, right? So here, who's going to have the most power or what's going to get done? Now, here's the thing now, because you got Stephanie White walk through the door, right? She got one thing right. First thing she said, okay, Clark's generational player, right? So the real deal is going to come down to how and Karen Caitlin, what do they want to do, right? Because it's not a matter of what Stephanie White wants to do. And this is where people get into coaching. Mike, you don't know what you're talking about or whatever. The deal that's supposed to work, here me tell you how you get instant success between Stephanie White and Kate Clark. That you got to look at it. Chrissy Size can do it. Bad habits was the first thing. Caitlin's got a lot of bad habits, right? Who says that, right? You're the number one pick in the draft with bad habits. So all the scouts and everybody that scouted out, everybody got it wrong and you got it right? But at the end of the deal, you got it wrong, and that's why you had to go, right? You didn't have to do those things, but you did it yourself, right? So here's how you coach that generation. And people can disagree. If you disagree, it's up to you. I just done it, and I know what it takes, right? So you're going to get this player, and it's more for Stephanie White Caitlin to say, look, this is what I want to do in this league, and it's for Stephanie White to show her how to get it done, right? That's the thing because you gotta have objective. You gotta have objectives. What do you want to do? I want to be MVP, first team all day. I want to lead the league in the triple double, right? I want to go out there and be like Brian Westbrook and lead the league in a triple double every night. Now, Caitlin could do that, really, really. You probably only one few players could do it, but you got to know somebody's got to show you how to get there. right? Because the player, if they don't have anybody show them how to get there, then they wouldn't be doing it. Chrissy Sides can do it. I mean, there's no way she could, right? Because she doesn't have experience. She hasn't coached. She's never been in the NBA. So now you got a whole different person coming in here trying to do something. Stephanie White's got a big job, right? Because this thing's going to get bumpy. Okay, you got to tear it down. You got to build it back up. Okay, and then you got to say, okay, let's execute it. Will she be able to execute the second half that the Fever had last year, right? First half, a little bumpy. Second half, she's going to do a job, right? And if it doesn't happen, right? Let's say you don't beat the Sky, right? Because you're going to judge yourself against the Sky, right? They're neck and neck. But if you don't beat the Sky, what happens, right? You're going to have to relook and say, we're supposed to be better than the Sky. I like you, Money Mike. You speak your wisdom. I kept saying it would most likely be why. Most people were talking delusional, like Bluter, Miller, Bird. Give me a break. Yeah, it is. It's done. Women power, go Fever. You had to set precedent, man. You know, the women, birth of a nation, birth of a community, and birth of an economy. Okay, this is the impact the WNBA has. Okay, the NBA doesn't have this impact, and the NFL doesn't have this impact. The WNBA women will have impact on schools. They will have impact on colleges. Okay, they're also going to have impact in communities. Okay, so this is a little bit different. CaitlinClark, chosen one this year. Next year, you're going to have somebody else the chosen one. And then the next year, you're going to have somebody else. And they're doing this in a way that it grows the league, right? Because at the end of the day, all the eyes are going to go on Paige Bucher. Gino does an extra protection with his players, right? Because Paige Bucher, man, I don't know how she'll live up to that expectation of CaitlinClark, right? But the league is growing. The people love it. Now you got to get the players because you can't go in there and go 5 for 45 at the 3-point line in game 5. Can't do that. And we got to get better, right? Wait a minute. You just said bring diversity inclusion into play. You got to explain that. All right. Here's the deal. And I'll explain it in the best way it can. This comes from my good friend, Dr. Thomas Reed, Hall of Fame basketball coach, women, college, and the page. Also, athletic director of the year, right? Okay, so you got diversity and inclusion. Here's what everybody needs to understand, okay, that diversity and inclusion is very prevalent in women's sports. Very prevalent in women's sports, not just WNBA. Okay, you have soccer, you have softball, you have women's sports, right? So you can't just come here to the WNBA and single that out, right? Now, from corporate America's standpoint, they dealt with it 15 years ago. So everything somebody may come on here and say, it's inappropriate for me to put a response, but I can tell you it's prevalent. It's not something you're going to change. Okay, I have an ideology as my parents that I had to communicate with. You're going to have to take the ownership of educating your children, right? Because that's not somebody you can expect the league to do, right? So you gotta move past. But once we move past this, the league goes to greatness, right? Once you get past this, it goes to greatness, right? So you go to work every day and you achieve greatness because corporate America got past this 15 years ago, right? That's what makes it successful. How do I know that? Because I worked at AT&T. And when you're in corporate America, some of the things that are being said, there's no way you could get on there and you could do that, right? Because you got to be accountable for yourself at your job and when you're not at your job. Right, I believe Perry as a coach, she could have been the right mentality for the team. Personally, I would have to wonder how okay, who supported claims there is somebody that working with the team. Yeah, that one there got a little out of hand. I mean, I think it kind of ran over Stephanie White. And when you get yourself in a situation where it runs over you, don't know what to do, don't know what to say, don't know how to handle it. At that point, she wanted separation, okay, because things were being said. She had no control over Connecticut Sun players going to the podium and speaking like they were. She was really just trying to tell everybody for her, that's not the position I take, but she had no control over the players. I didn't feel she supported those claims, just gave a political response, just like CC does. These girls are used to working blind people, a long time. Okay, uh, good thing for the Fever. Okay, well, yeah, it was going to be a wait and see. I mean, I get it. No ideal politically of lack of a better term, but I'm not going to dissolve the missive of someone we're just trying to say she likes. Okay, that's inappropriate. I'll bypass on that one. Peace and abundance, divine blessings. Congratulations. Yeah, the inappropriate stuff. You can pick a lot of places to pick that. I mean, we're not the best choice for it because we won't acknowledge it. It's not something that I believe in. I don't see color. I don't see any of that. I see basketball players and I see them trying to be the best they can be. I can tell you this from where the women started and where they are today. They're better. What's going to happen to the crop that's coming in? They're going to be better. They got girls out there in high school dunking. All right, so they don't need to lower the rim. The rim's going to be fine. They're just going to get higher and higher and jumping. And at the end of the day, you're going to see a lot of women dunk this time in the NCAA as well. But the women game has grown. You're talking in circles, organize your thoughts. Yeah, well, that's how it goes. You get in a corporate meeting. For those of you who've been in a corporate meeting, you go in there, there's 14 people in there, okay, and you're going to have different 14 subjects, right? So you're giving a presentation, somebody stops and talks about something, you have to acknowledge it. But at the end of the day, the bottom line, this is the WNBA, which is the NBA. The women are playing well above expectations. The league is going to new heights. Now it's just got to understand that it's not going to be the way it used to be. That used to be the WNBA. It's not that way anymore. So my apologies if I don't get my thoughts correct, but I'll give it back to you. Jeannie said CC isn't made for the WNBA. Well, you know what? Gino gets it wrong. You know what? I know Gabby Williams, Shaqurise Green came out of her father, Matt Williams. We worked together. Me and Matt did a lot of good things. Matt is a genius, right? A business mogul. Came up to creation that you can take basketball courts, put them around anywhere in the world, put them in Expo. Those a lot of you have been up there, right? So the WNBA is not physical enough. She's just giving him his wish. Well, Gino's protective. And I tell you the reason the college coaches are speaking the way they got a lot of players. How many players you think Gino's put in the WNBA? Let's be honest, right? Do you think all of them have been treated family? Now he's saying, look, I got players getting paid a lot of money over here in UConn, and all my players are not getting a lot of money over there in the WNBA, okay, because it didn't start with NIL. So Gino says, I'm opening up. But that, you know what, you could throw a pebble. Like I said, you can throw a pebble at the top of the hill. By the time it gets down to the lake, it's going to turn into a boulder, right? It gets down the tributary to the Delta's going to run right into the ocean. It's going to get bigger. So you got to look at this, that CC is not going to be the only player, but other players are going to come in, and the next crop's better than the crop that just came in. I think CC have a similarity to the F1 driver, someone from CC. That's Ferrari. Yeah, I don't get paid to drive, meaning he enjoys it so much he did it for free. I get paid to do my sponsor duty. If CC doesn't do Unrivaled, it may be because she has other duty. That's right. There's other contractual agreements. She's got a lot of work to get done as far as merchandise marketing, commercials. I mean, it's gonna take time flying city to city and shooting all that stuff, such as the reality of her drama. Yeah, why not have a reality show, right? So Unrivaled are preparing the way for CC. Right? I get it. I get it. They're trying to bring all the players and everything. And does a rival make sense? It makes sense for a rival. Okay, and I'll wrap up here, ABZ. I've been following you. You've been sending back some great comments. I'm going to really tell you that, Unrivaled, yeah, that's good for player. That's not really good for CaitlinClark. CaitlinClark's busy, right? There's busy. And why did they create Unrivaled to the league to make some extra money for the players who aren't making money, right? So here's the deal. You go back to Asia Wilson, right? Why isn't Asia Wilson playing in Unrivaled, right? Because you got to understand there's contracts, folks. There's contracts. Unrivaled's got to have a contract with somebody, right? So you don't the way it really works, and you'll learn this. Some of you know it already. You Adidas contracted people don't play in Nike leagues, right? Nike doesn't play in the Reebok league, right? So the contract, you understand these players are going to end up with contracts, and you got to understand that CaitlinClark, it has to be a Nike ran league, right? You got Asia Wilson, same thing, right? Because you can't just start saying, well, here's my player, because you're going to market that player, right? The minute you play in that league, now they're marketing your name, image, and likeness, right? And so you got to understand, CaitlinClark has been paid for her name, image, and likeness, and Unrivaled has to pay for that. And the price of CaitlinClark, Angel Reese, Asia Wilson, their name, image, and likeness, the price is going up. So guess what? You got to pay for that. And you can't just say, come play in the league. I know everybody's saying, okay, just come play in the league. It's more than that, folks. This is well beyond just come on out here and play in the league. This is about saying, hey, we got money on the line. We're playing a game. We're paying for it, right? And we got to make sure this thing happens. So that's kind of where I'm taking you. It's a different day. When you look at it, you get it going and everything, you got to understand one thing, that this is the Money Mike Syndicated Radio Podcast. I'm taking to my world. I got Mr. Jeff Swartz. You may not know him. That's Chris Rivers. These are powerful people, folks. You talk about Klutch and what they got going on. Nobody moves it better than Klutch. Calvin Andrews, man, I'm telling you, he done it with LeBron, Oakland Soldiers, #1 player in the country, and Rich Paul. It works, folks. It works, and they're moving on up. The Klutch Sports is now the head coach, is under representation with Klutch, so it's moving on up. Indiana Fever, I'm going to tell you, ballers know ballers. Boston knows Carmella. There ain't no doubt about it. Okay, and Kelsey and Caitlin, get ready, because ballers know ballers, and I'm going to tell you, the Chicago Sky got ballers. Okay, you got Kennedy Carter, it's your game. Go ahead and shine. It's going to happen. And I'm going to tell you what, when you get to the NBA coaching, let me tell you this. They got rules, and they know what they're doing. They put it down, and that's what we're going to do. So just understand it. You're going to see a new Angel Reese. Don't get so used to the podcast. That's just a sideshow. You got Tyler, man. Look at him. He ready to do what he got to do. Everywhere he's been, he's produced championships. So it is, you are what you are, and you do what you do. And you get to Miss Kelly. That's right. Kelly knows the game. Been around it a long time. And both of them have been with the Indiana Pacers. So, Stephanie White, you got your job cut out for you. I'm bringing it to you. This is the Money Mike Syndicated Radio Podcast. And the Indiana Fever. That's right. I got one for you. Go ahead and send Alyssa Smith over to the Chicago Sky. Money Mike puts big money. You can almost bet your house on that one. She get to the Chicago Sky, you're going to see a ball player. This is the Money Mike Syndicated Radio Podcast. We're powered up by fanatics, and we're bringing it different than it ever has. We can be often imitated, never duplicated, because all things are possible to those who believe. We'll see you soon.